to at the moment, so she's also using internet. Known because they're not... It will say like, hey, go do this at a certain point. But I've found playing this game that a lot of people don't know about these, and so they end up getting... so this is just going to be a guide on me talking about a few of the different things that you can do. Oh, it's already saying not sufficient enough. So I'm gonna check. Okay, I'm still on air, so forget that noise. So first thing that you do is when you're making a character, you've got the 7 different classes, and this is one of the easier parts because really you just pick whoever you're going in for, because all of them are really good at damage. Like even if you're the Crusader, you're still going to want a high damage build as well as everybody else, but certain people will be tankier than others and whatnot. Primarily Barbarian and Crusader, a little bit into the Monk, whereas the rest are going to be really squishy. Now when it comes to character, the only thing I will say is that there's a couple characters that are unique in the sense that there's things they can do that, I mean each class is unique, but there's things that they can do that others can't even hope to do. Like Demon Hunter, their specialty is super high damage. Well, guess what? Everybody can do high damage. So the 2 that I think are really good are the Monk, who with a specific build or with a specific set of armor can have all of their passives going at the same time, and that affects the entire team, giving you a nice advantage. I don't know what the percentages are on it or anything like that, but I think it's really nice. I mean, Crusader, you get some buffs as well. So, I mean, if you don't want to use that specific armor set, then either or. But if you use that specific armor set, you get like 8 or 10 different spirits following you. You get all your mantras going on at the same time. Get to buff up yourself and your entire party without having to worry about it. And I think that's just really cool. Then you have the Necromancer, and yes, I paid the $15 for a single class, but it is by far my favorite class. Now what's unique about them, gameplay wise, is that they are the only ones that have blood magic, where you are spending health instead of resource for certain abilities, and there's actually a build where it's like, hey, all those spells that cost blood, they deal like 3,000 something % damage, and any of frailty, which is one of their curses. And this ability makes it so that when the enemies around you reach 10% health, they immediately die. And there's no one immune to this. This works on Diablo, Malthael, all bosses. It is just a insta-kill regardless. And this may not seem all that great at first. It's like, well, I mean, if the enemy only has, let's say, 1,000,000 health and I'm doing several 100,000 damage at a time, I'm gonna kill him in 5 hits anyway. And that's fair enough. And you know, so let's say like 4 hits brings them down to 10%, and then they die. It's like, okay, that saved you a whole 1 hit. But the further you go, the more health they get, but that 10% amount stays the same. It will kill them whether that 10% is 1,000 health or 3 billion health. So it can really save you some time, and having a Necromancer in the group can make speed runs and like getting to the like higher rankings in seasonal and like farming and everything. Even just farming makes it a whole lot easier. And of course, everybody's got their own unique stuff about them, as I said before, and everybody's got 4 different class sets that each give them different abilities, plus there's hundreds of different legendaries. But just wanted to go over those 2 specifically because I do see a lot of them online, but not as many as I'd like to. Or I'll see groups where it's like, okay, if you have 3 Necromancers, guess what? That Aura of Frailty only needs to be there once, as long as that person stays alive. So let's go in on my necromancer. I think I look pretty cool. Let's set this to local only. So then after making your character, gear-wise and skill-wise, honestly do whatever you're comfortable with until level 70. Beating the story and everything else, honestly, you can play any which way you want. But once you're past that, once you're in the post-game content, the first thing I recommend doing is going on a site called Icy Veins. You can either just Google that or go to www.icey-veins.com, and Icy Veins has builds for Diablo 3, it's got builds for World of Warcraft, what else did they have? There was another Blizzard game that they added recently, but they do focus on Blizzard games. And what that will do is, even if you don't want to follow one of their builds exactly, like my bone armor build right here, I'm sure doesn't fit the site, especially since I don't have the cooldown on this. I have armor doubler, which is to me kind of better because I like survivability. But it gives you an idea of what to look for. It tells you to look for percentage stuff, basically. Like here, increase damage against enemies under the effects of control, impairing effects by 30%. So what the percentiles do that the rest don't is like, okay, well, no, because that's a percentile in the end. Okay, right here, my weapon does an additional 1,410 to 1,656. Now, by itself, that doesn't do anything at my point in the game. The enemies I'm fighting have billions of health. That 1,000 doesn't do jack diddly. Neither does the 3,000 from my primary weapon. But you add that 30% and another 90% from this and 90% from that, it really starts to add up. And it just gets exponentially larger. And also, welcome to the stream. I noticed someone joined in. I unfortunately can't see your message. I don't have the messages on at the moment. Because for whatever reason, my NAT type just doesn't allow me to view the chat. So I apologize, but if you send me a message on my account, or if you send it through Facebook, if you know me personally, I'll make sure to check it later. So the next thing you want to do after you get to 70 is you've got these Paragon points. Now Paragon points a lot of times are kind of personal preference, or if you're looking at Icy Veins, you'll get a lot of tips on what to level first. The one thing I wanted to really point out though, because the game doesn't tell you this anywhere that I know, that you get a cap, so a maximum of 25% movement speed from this and your boots for sure, but I want to say it's just armor in general. And so but skills obviously can take it higher, but your gear and your Paragon only can get you up to 25%. So if you're as far as I am, and you have this 25% movement speed, make sure that you go on your boots, and you can see here that I changed out my movement speed for life per second, because otherwise you just kind of have a dead, useless enchantment on one of your things. And then with weapons, there's actually a similar thing. You actually want an unsocketed weapon for like the late game, because there's an item called Ramaladni's Gift. Use this item, select an unsocketed weapon to add a socket. This item is destroyed in the process. So what that does is so imagine this one didn't have that 130% crit damage. Instead, let's say it had attack speed or something. Because this one, unfortunately, was socketed right off the bat. So let's say that was attack speed instead, and then you would see the socket with the 130% critical hit damage, because it doesn't remove one of the current enchantments. it only just adds the socket, so that's a free enchantment. Otherwise, Kanai's Cube, which you get, hold on, I'm going to pull that up on the map real quick. If you go to Bastion's Keep, you get the Ruins of Secheron. You find it there, and the seasonal does point this out for you, like, and or if you just go into adventure mode, he's here, and he's like, hey, go here and get this for me. So, you know, this is one of those things where it's kind of like more streamlined to like more people know about this. But one thing that two things I didn't know about. One thing I didn't think about because I just wasn't paying attention is upgrade rare item. If you put a yellow item in here, it will turn it into a legendary, and it can be it will be of the same type. So if you put in a scythe in this case, it will be a scythe, and it can be ancient or primal. Same thing with Kadala here. If you spend your blood shards here, you can very rarely get ancients or primals, or if you get yellows from her, take them over here. But of course that takes a lot of death's breaths, so I kind of tend to hold off on it. But it's one of those things where, you know, if you're really desperate to get, like, I mean, in my case, you know, if I really want that ancient Relena's Shadow Hook, or even a primal Relena's Shadow Hook without a socket, like, I could just spend all my resources time and again to do that. But the really important one is augment ancient item, because it doesn't, none of these really explain themselves. So how this works is when you have an ancient item, so with these golden borders, so I suppose I should have explained that first. I'll get back to that in a moment, but ancient items have these nice gold borders with little spikes. Everything else, you put one of those in here. I don't have the other stuff I need though, because you need legendary gems. So you need one ancient item, you need one of these, they will be at the top of your gem stash, and you're gonna want it at least 30, but I think there's a, hold on, it does show the requirements there. Yeah, 40 for a jewel, 30 for a weapon, 50 for armor. So honestly, probably you would just want to go for 50 right away, and you level those by doing greater rifts, part of the reward. I'm busy at the moment. Sorry about that. So that's the main way to level your gems. And then finally you need 3 of one of the following. Now it doesn't say what it does, but what it does do is it will give your ancient item or primal an additional, oh, not this one, an additional enchantment. For example, and this wouldn't be for my character, but rubies are strength. So if you have 3 of the highest tier, so the flawless imperial ruby, and a level 50 gem, it will put a level 50 enchantment of a strength bonus. So for me, it would be topaz, because that's intelligence. So that 955 intelligence would still be there. Well, except it'd probably be higher if I had ancient. But then there would be another one giving me another couple thousand. And what this does is if you have it on every piece of gear, you can see at the bottom there my intelligence is 8,573. Doing this can easily get you, let's see, my demon hunter had 14,000 and something dexterity. And so that's really helpful. Having a diamond in your headpiece gives you cooldown, an emerald in your weapon gives you crit damage. Those are things that you'll see on Icy Veins a lot as well. Otherwise, I personally just go for the damage ones and then put the survivability in my kind of my stats and my abilities. And the last thing I want to cover is that's the ancient. I don't have any primals and to cover. Those are the things that I feel like kind of aren't made very well known in this game. And I'm hoping that this video will help people kind of buff up their characters a little bit and be able to get further into uh, the seasonal, or even just casually, get, how to improve their characters. But I'm gonna sign off for now. Just wanted to kind of cover that and make that kind of video. So hopefully this helps you out.